All right, SABC politics editor Mzwandile Mbeje is having a sit-down with Northern Cape Premier chairperson of the ANC, that is Zamani Saul, on ANC matters and the upcoming 55th National Conference. Let's listen in on that particular conversation. A very good afternoon to you, Mzwandile, and over to you.
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Flo, and of course, as you have correctly said, we are sitting with the Premier of the Northern Cape, who also happens to be the chairperson of the ANC here, Zamani Saul. So we'll be having a chat with him on a range of issues that, of course, the work here in this province, and we will certainly speak about what is happening in the country. He is the chairperson of the ANC, and I think the ANC in this province has made it clear what it wants. But we'll start off with matters closer to home, that is service delivery. Premier, welcome to SABC. Thank you very much for granting us the opportunity to speak to you. And of course, we are, I think, 3.5 into your term now, and
I'm only left with 17 months.
Yes, and then you made very bold promises when you took over.
Yeah.
So on the scale of 1 to 10, so how far are you in terms of achieving those?
No, thank you very much, Mr. Mbeje, for having me here, and let me greet to all your viewers. It's a very difficult question because we've made major strides.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's major challenges, and particularly on the front of service delivery. So we continue to do our work, working right around the clock to ensure that we do the little that we can to improve the quality of lives of the people of the Northern Cape. So we've made major strides, and one of the issues that we said we'll have to focus on is the issue of unemployment, and unemployment particularly amongst young people. So when we took over in 2019, unemployment in the province was standing at 28.3%. Now it's standing at 23.7%. And that is because of the last 8 quarters of growth in the economy that created space for us to create the much needed job opportunities. When we started in 2019 as the 6th administration, the GDP of the province was 96 billion. The GDP is 122 billion. On a scale of things, we are the single province in the country that managed to grow its economy to that rate. And the sectors that have contributed immensely to this, it's your mining sector, it's your energy sector, it's the agricultural sector, and as well as the tourism sector, which is starting to pick up nicely now.
Well, I think that's definitely great news. I think every South African would want to hear a positive story about their country, and what you are saying is quite encouraging, I guess.
Yeah.
But I guess not without challenges.
There's massive challenges.
When you took over, you basically said you want to change the quality of the lives of the people of this province.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm just going to go back to your speech in 2019.
Yeah.
You spoke about Lorado Park,
Yeah.
and then the conditions there.
Yeah.
I will give you credit. There has been some major improvements there.
Yeah.
But here is the issue, Mr. Premier, that really continues to linger in this province. Sewage among communities.
Yeah. Yeah, yes, that's one of the issues I raised of the big challenges that we are sitting with. Let me give you an example of Kimberley, where you are. Yeah. The bulk infrastructure here in Kimberley was put in here around 1947 for 18,000 households. So in 1994, we came into power, we reticulated from that bulk infrastructure. Currently, we are sitting with a town with about 80,000 households connected on a bulk infrastructure, which was only meant for 18,000 households. So we did reticulation. We took houses in Greenpoint, put them on the grid. We took houses in Kgaleshowe, right all over Kimberley, your former locations and we connected them on a grid without necessarily increasing the capacity of our bulk infrastructure. That is basically the problem that we are sitting with. So because of that, you sit with hydraulic overflows, where pressure gets concentrated at a point, and then you sit with bursts. The municipality is actually doing a patchwork. They move from one burst to another. The only way we can come up with a permanent solution to the problem is basically to revamp the entire bulk network of this town. And to do that, it's about 5 billion rand. We've already conducted a study to try and establish what is it that we can do to address the problem. You can't have bulk network meant for 18,000 households carrying about 80,000 households. Hence the problem that we are sitting with.
Certainly. I think it's a fair point. But here is my question, Premier. You have been in power as the ANC for close to 30 years. You have known about that problem. But you haven't done anything about it.
No, it's not that we've not done anything about it. Let me give you an example. Here in the Northern Cape, in 1994, do you know that there were about 37% of households that have access to adequate sanitation? Before 1994, 34% of households had access to the grid, to electricity. Now, as I'm talking to you, 87% of households in the Northern Cape have got access to Eskom grid. 87%. We've doubled the number of households who've got access to adequate sanitation. It's now standing at 84%. So from 1994, we've made major strides to ensure that we improve the number of households who've got access to adequate sanitation and as well as got access to Eskom grid. One of the challenges that came with that is our lack of investment in improving the bulk capacity. That's the reason why we are sitting with the problem that we are sitting with in Eskom now. It's exactly the same as the problem that we are sitting with regard to sanitation.
Does that have to do with lack of strategic planning from you as government? Because as you laying out these achievements, which is very good.
You're 100% correct. It's got everything to do with planning. Let me give you an example. After the Chinese Communist Party took over in 1949? There were blackouts there, and those blackouts were called Mayo's hours because people don't have electricity, and then they say these hours belongs to Mayo because we don't have electricity. The country managed to address that problem over several periods of years. So at the formative stages of constructing a post-colonial state, there's similar challenges right throughout the world which governments get to confront. So what we rushed to do is to put more households into the reticulation without improving the bulk capacity. We put more households on Eskom without improving and maintaining the fleet which is there. So now we are sitting with those results. It could have been a mishap, but I'm certain that it's something that we are attending to.
That's exactly where I'm going, Premier, to say, I guess it's appreciated that you're connecting a lot more people. But it defeats the purpose if you're connecting people, yet you are not replenishing that which they will need. So, hence my question, was that the lack of strategic planning on your part as the government?
That I agree with you. It could have been a lapse because the issue of load shedding, first it emerged in 2000. That if with the pace of electrification, household electrification in South Africa, even electrifying rural communities, you would need to improve the capacity of Eskom. That thing was there in 2000. And very little was done to ensure that we substantively increase the capacity, the production capacity of Eskom. So we are sitting with that problem now. I think the issue that we should be discussing is that the problem must be solved.
Absolutely. That brings me to another question. I know when you took over as the ANC, there was a document, Ready to Govern. I think it was 1992.
It was 92.
92, yes. But clearly from some of what we have seen, is it possible that perhaps in hindsight, you may not necessarily have been ready to govern, perhaps politically, but in terms of proper governance?
It depends from which side of the fence you stand. If you want to emphasize the failures, you would say we were not ready. If you want to emphasize the successes, you'll say we are ready. Do you know that from 1994, we've more than doubled the number of people who are employed in South Africa?
Sure.
So would you call that not being ready to govern? We've over doubled the number of people in rural areas. People have got access to the grid. We've built thousands of schools.
Certainly.
We've built, if you come to the Northern Cape, we've got 16 hospitals here, which means for every 75,000 people, there is a hospital available. We've built clinics right throughout, even in rural areas. I'll be opening a clinic in one of the deepest rural areas. Would you call that not having capacity to govern?
Okay. Here, my question...
So I'm saying it depends what side of the fence you stand.
Sure. I'm saying this looking at the collapsing infrastructure. You have just told me about the infrastructure that is not able to cater for everyone.
Yeah.
So, which means somehow it was neglected.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the roads. Yes, I know generally our national roads, so they are good. I mean, but the fact of the matter is that we've seen potholes developing, even in towns like Kimberley, for example. It's not the only one.
Yeah.
So the neglect of infrastructure. In fact, railway lines, the trains are not moving.
Yeah.
So that is where I'm coming from in terms of this. So as much as you were ready to govern, but clearly you may not have understood what governance means. That's the question.
No, obviously, we came in 1994 without any previous experience. What we could do is to learn from what happened, particularly in other African countries post-independence. That's the only script we had. So there will obviously be weaknesses as the transformation agenda unfolded. There has been weaknesses, and all of us will acknowledge that. If you look into our latest manifesto, in our manifesto we acknowledge that there has been certain lapses. We raised the issue of corruption. We raised even the issue of the lack of technical capacity, and particularly in our municipalities, to ensure that we maintain infrastructure, we build the new infrastructure. Those are some of the things that we have openly raised with South Africans and say there are certain weaknesses. But look at the weaknesses within a context of a state which is at the formative stages. South African state is at the formative stages. I want anybody who would tell me that a 27-year-old state is not in its formative. We are still in the formative stages.
Sure.
And when we say we are still in the formative stages, we firmly saying it's an iterative process. It's a back and forth.
Okay.
Looking at best models of ensuring that we deliver the best quality public service to our people.
Okay. Here is my difficulty with that. I agree with you partly, but here is my difficulty. Some of the system that you found, it was functioning.
Yeah.
So you could have just improved on it or made it much better, but you neglected it. That's where my problem is.
It was functioning for a few.
On the 10 mark? On
Yes,
the 10
but
minutes
what
mark.
you could have done, extended that function.
ESCOM was functioning for the few.
Yes.
People will tell you there was no
Yeah.
load shedding before 1994, but it was for the few.
No, I agree with you.
So when we have to expand these services to all South Africans, then that in itself also exposed weaknesses in the system. I'm certain before 1994 there were no spills here in town, sewer spills in town here in Kimberley, because the bulk network was only catering for 18,000 households, which were white households in the main. Now we've put in our people also on the bulk network. Now we are sitting with spills. It only functions for the few.
Maybe let's come back to closer to home now. I think when you took over, in fact, some people, and you would know this well, they said this is the Sankara of our times, Thomas Sankara of our times, because of the pronouncements. So where is the State House now? Did you sell it?
No, the State House is the Department of Economic Development. That is, I'm staying in my house. I'm not staying in the State House at my cost and my expenses at my house.
But you said you were going to sell it.
Yes, we did put the State House on market, but we did not get a buyer. Now the Ministry of the Department of Finance, Economic Development is renting the State House from the state. we are generating money from the State House.
So which means...
Which gets directed to the Premier's bursary fund.
So which means the next Premier who would come from Springbok, for example, would be able to use it again?
The next Premier will be sitting with his or her challenges. Yeah. But a challenge that we had, I need to put this thing into proper context.
Sure.
After I got elected, I took the manifesto of the ANC, gave it to the team from Treasury and said, this is the manifesto of the ANC, this is my primary mandate. What is it that we can do to ensure that we implement this manifesto? I had a meeting with them up until midnight. Mm-hmm. Then they told me, with the state of finances of the Northern Cape, there is very little that we can do on this manifesto. And then I said, how can we get money? Yeah. And they told me we need to cut on wastages. And what does those wastages include? Those wastages include executive frills. That's what they told me. That you first, you must be a force of example. You must cut on the executive frills that you are entitled to as the Premier. Mm-hmm. I'm certain in the whole country, I'm one of the premiers who don't enjoy those executive frills. But we managed to make major strides. Let me tell you what happened then. In 2001. When we closed our financial year in 2001, we managed to close our financial year with 360 million rand positive bank balance, something that the Northern Cape administration does not know about. Every time when we close our bank balance at the end of the financial year, it was negative. So as we close the financial year, we eat in the money of the new financial year. So for the first time,
by 2001, you mean 2001, 2021?
2001, we closed our financial year with a positive bank balance. Yeah. Last financial year, now, we closed our exchequer account, which is the state bank balance, with a positive bank balance of close to 400 million rand. And all of that is direct benefits of us cutting on wastages. Yeah. I can't, as the Premier, stand on a mountain top and say, let's cut wastages whilst I'm drowning in luxury. It should start with me. I should be the force of example, and we've done that. And I'm very grateful to my MECs who actually followed that. And now we are sitting with positive results. We are better placed now to accelerate service delivery in the Northern Cape.
You said you'll be the activist Premier.
Yes.
Meaning you're not going to be spending a lot of time in the office.
Yeah.
To your credit, I think you have been to the hospital once or twice, but you had said you were going to be a regular visitor there. Yeah. You are not.
We've got these facilities right throughout the province. We've got 164 clinics here. We've got 16 hospitals. 164 clinics. You must phone people in those different clinics. They will tell you the Premier was here on this day, the Premier was here on this day. So that's my responsibility, is to be on the ground and not be told that there are problems. I must go and see those problems. So that's the work that we've been doing. We've got a provincial executive council that is on the ground. We are doing our work. Go on my social media platform. You won't really see me around here, Kimberley. I'm right throughout the province doing the work, vast as it is. With the challenges that we have, I'm trying my best to keep in touch with the people of the Northern Cape.
So you also promised to build the state construction company.
Yes.
I know that. Is it a couple of weeks ago?
We've launched it 2 months back.
Yes. So does that mean the issue of potholes that I was speaking about will be a thing of the past in the coming months?
At the first intake of the state construction company is 50 young people.
Yeah.
Who are, as I'm talking to you now, subjected to a training on pothole fixing, resealing of roads and all of that. We agreed for the next 2 years. Their primary focus would be on ensuring that we've got better roads.
Well, Premier, obviously, as much as government matters, so you need a vehicle to get into government. And in your case, that's the political party, the ANC. No. We know that in just a little over a month, there'll be a big ANC conference where the new leadership will be elected. As the Northern Cape, you have basically made yourselves known who you want to see elected.
Yeah.
You said at some point the top 6, the president, you wish the president not contested but all others can be contested
Yeah.
from what vote. What was the thinking behind that?
Check. By nature, conferences are centrifugal. They send people into different directions away from the center. The center, which is the African National Congress. That's where all of us, we need to converge and unite. It's around the movement. But when you go to conferences, people get sent to different directions. So our view and what we felt very strongly as the province, that at least the position of the president should not be contested, and use the president as a symbol of unity, because for now, unity is becoming a very elusive element for the African National Congress. That's basically what we're hoping for. And it's not really an unheard thing when people have got different perspectives within the movement. Let me tell you, by now, it's the closing date for BJMs.
Yes, yes.
More than 4,000 BJMs convened in the country. More than 4,000. And if we can actually calculate and say, roughly, there were about 80 to 100 people in each BJM. We speak here about almost 400,000 people who participated in the process of nomination of leadership. Obviously, there will be different perspective. But I'm of the view that we can better manage that and ensure that there is a semblance of unity in that process. And let me tell you, I hear people talking a whole lot of issues around our preparations towards the national conference and how divisive and how fractious the process is. Tell me of any political party in this country that has got about 400,000 people that participate in the nomination of their leaders. None. It's only the ANC.
No, that's fine.
4,000 BJMs.
No,
and
I get
about
that.
400,000 people.
No, but my question, no.
You'll never find it anywhere.
Yeah,
There's
sure. But
there's no party that will take that risk.
No, my question is, why did you say the position of the president, other than the symbol of unity, should not be contested, given so many things happening in the country, particularly around the president?
The unity of the ANC matters for South Africans. One of the issues that we underestimate is the implications of unity in the ANC and stability of the African National Congress, because that stability in the ANC penetrates directly into government. If there's instability in the ANC, it penetrates directly into government. So what we were thinking is, if you've got the president not contested as a symbol of unity, as having him as a unifying factor, that in itself has got direct benefits for the people of this country, than having to go to a conference which will be a blood-led and which will portray a party that is fractious and divided.
What would be your view to what former President Mbeje said some 2 or 3 weeks ago around the panel that is in Parliament? Yeah. Should that panel say, Mr. President, you have a case to answer?
Yeah.
So, which basically means there may be issues around call it corruption related to that. Yeah. So would you still hold the same view if that panel were to say there's a case to answer?
No, I don't want to preempt that process.
20 minutes into it, 20
but
minutes.
The ANC, we've got our own internal processes to handle instances of this nature. We say, if there are serious allegations against an individual, he must go to the Integrity Commission. That's what we agreed on. Number 2, we say, if you are criminally charged, you must step aside. Number 3, then we say, if you are convicted and found guilty, you must step down. So that's what the NEC agreed on.
Yes.
This is basically the framework. And it's unfortunate that you find NEC members, and even the former president is serving in the NEC. He speaks there. There's not even a single NEC where he does not make his views known. He speaks there in the NEC. So we agreed on this framework. Our responsibility as NEC members and as ANC members is to keep within that framework, and that assists us not to subject the country to our own thinking about the process. So the president, there were serious allegations. Pala is serious, and it's unfortunate. And the president went to the Integrity Commission. There's almost
8
5
minutes to
different
go.
institutions which are investigating the issue of Phala. SARS is investigating. The police are investigating. And then if the president gets charged, he will have to step aside. There's no other alternative. If he goes to court and gets convicted, he will have to step down as the president. We should, all of us, subject ourselves to that framework and not speak outside the framework.
Yes. I think you have just said about 5 agencies are investigating this matter.
Yes.
So, yes, he's not been found guilty.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that you, in fact, by you, I mean you as an individual, you are one of the persons who really advocates for ethical leadership.
Yes.
Given that the president is facing this cloud, don't you think from the ethical point of view, perhaps he should say, let me step back a bit?
But when we took the decision in the last conference for leaders to step aside, we were
8 minutes to go.
basically
8 minutes.
precipitated by the outcry by the national mood against issues of unethical leadership. That's the reason why we did it. And then we agreed on a framework. That framework should dictate what's happened. It should not be my personal views. If it becomes my personal views, then I create an off-ramp from a decision of the National Executive Committee. This is the decision if anybody who serves in the National Executive Committee feels that this decision which was taken by the National Executive Committee, the framework and the guidelines adopted are inadequate, he must go and argue that in the NEC and not come to this platform and raise the issue with you. NEC members can raise their views there. And I'm of the firm view that the framework that we've adopted is of great assistance to ensure that we instill commitment to ethical leadership in the movement.
But I think someone would say, I think Mr. Saul is very clear what he's saying.
Yeah.
But it's confusing that he is backing a candidate that really has some serious issues. So, given that that is the case,
Yeah.
are you not worried that the president in the next couple of weeks could be found wanting?
If that happens, let's say the eventuality that you are sketching, it happens, I'm of the firm view and I've got confidence in the leadership of Comrade Cyril that he will do the right thing. I trust that he will do the right thing, and I'm certain that he's not going to disappoint the country in doing the right thing. If he's found wanting around the issues of Phala, there is something criminal about it. I'm of the firm view that he will definitely address the nation and say what everybody would expect from him.
That brings me to the issue of the state capture. You had said, for example, 2 weeks ago here in this province, if he doesn't make it back, the issue of the state capture report will not be attended to seriously. So I know I'm phrasing you.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Check the developments towards the national conference and some of the centrifugal policy issues which constitutes the debate towards the national conference, which are very emotive. One of them is the state capture report. And I'm certain you've heard the president on several occasions saying that this report will be implemented. And it did not only say so, he went to an extent of ensuring that the law enforcement agencies are strengthened. Extra resources were given to them. Extra resources were given to law enforcement agencies. So you've got this president who's contesting for a second term, deeply committed at ensuring that the issue of state capture is concluded. Those who were involved in malfeasance, who looted the public purse, must be held accountable. So there's an opposing trajectory that is developing against him just because of that commitment. And it's organizing themselves into a form of a line-up towards the national conference. And it won't be for the first time that such thing happened. We went to the 2007 conference. After that conference, within 6 months, the Scorpions were dissolved. isn't it?
They were.
So history can repeat itself. We are going now to the national conference, and one of the burning issues and very emotive issue around this conference is the status of the state capture report. As soon as this person who's committed to the state capture report does not win in that conference, let me tell you, the likelihood is within the first 6 months of next year, that report will be thrown out of the window.
Are you not worried? I would not worried, Mr. Saul, that there's also allegations. In fact, I spoke to your comrade, Mrs. Sulu, who basically said the issue of money is a problem. Are you not worried that some are accusing the incumbent of using money to influence delegates? In fact, your former president this weekend basically said that in public.
Yes, I heard that, and I heard what Sislindi raised around the use of money. The guidelines are also very clear. They try to ensure that there is no use of money as part and parcel of lobbying towards the national conference. The guidelines are very clear on that. The ones which were presented to the NEC by the former Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe. Actually, because you know what's your problem of the use of money? The use of money, the money that is used for lobbying, is cheap money. It's not money that individuals worked for. It's money that has been stolen from the state coffers. That is the problem of money in the elections campaign inside the ANC. So if we don't put an end to that, in actual fact, on the other hand, we will be incentivizing corruption in the public sector. So we've made some commitment. If anybody has got any proof of evidence of use of money by any lobby group, not only the CR lobby group, but by any lobby group, the different lobby groups which are there, we've created a platform where those people can go and report such incidences. If somebody comes here with 10,000 rand and say, nominate my candidate, ANC members must be able to stand up and report such incidences.
Who would you prefer as your next Secretary General?
Jack, there's quite a whole lot of names which have come to the fore, and I'm sure you saw as the province we gave our branches some kind of a multiple choice.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of names and very capable men and women. You've got, for an example, the name of Comrade Phoebe, and very outstanding cadre of our movement. You've got the name of Ndumiseni Ntuli. I served with him now in the NEC when he was serving as the Provincial Secretary of KwaZulu-Natal.
Extra 5 minutes.
An outstanding cadre, immaculate articulator, who's really grounded within the movement. And then you've got the name of Comrade Gwen, which is also there. And if you look at Comrade Gwen, you look at the history of involvement, we can have an excellent Secretary General. You've got the name of Mbalola also. And but if I'll have to...
You've given me...
I'm giving you all of them.
Yes.
But let me tell you, with the challenges that the organization is confronted with now, with having this pool of cadres with extraordinary capabilities, I would definitely pick up Comrade Mbalola. He's an outstanding cadre, and I firmly believe if the movement wants to vigorously push its program of renewal, he's the right person to do that. You know, he's the only surviving individual who served both as the Secretary General and the President of the Youth League. The other one is Nelson Mandela. He was my leader in the Youth League. I know what he's capable of. But let me leave that and tell you something. What happened, what made me respect him most. 2011 NEC. 2011 NEC. Went to the NEC and asked the National Executive Committee to tell him who to account to. Who should I report to? Because I received a call from the Guptas and they told me that they have appointed me to be the Minister of Sport. Just a few months after I got appointed. And this NEC, he asked the NEC, can you tell me here in this NEC, who should I account to? Is it The people who told me that they've appointed me, or is it this NEC? Let me tell you, with all the Gupta saga and the experiences that we had, there is not even a single NEC member who did that. He put his political career at risk, and for that, I've got the greatest form of respect.
Okay. On the Deputy President side?
There's also a whole lot of names, and I think all of them extraordinarily capable.
Let me ask.
And I've not really made up my mind there.
Do you have a problem with the current Deputy President?
No, I don't. I don't.
Why have you not?
I don't have a problem with that. Now you make it my issue. No. That's why.
But you were able to
branches.
You were able to tell me
about
the president.
Is one of the names. Is one of the names which are on the list. Yes. Of the names that we've provided to the branches for nomination. And I'm told there are branches that have nominated him in the province. By the end of this week, we will know exactly what branches nominated. My branch? No. My branch nominated somebody else as a deputy president.
Who did it nominate?
It nominated Senzomkul. That's what my branch have nominated.
Okay, so is that the name you're going with to Nazareth?
No. You can't appropriate a branch to an individual.
Okay.
You had a branch there with close to 100 people who attended, who had different perspectives, and there was voting, and there's a name that won. So that's the position of my branch.
We're going towards closure, Chairperson. We've had in recent times the former presidents expressing their unhappiness at the state of the party.
Yeah.
I know they have freedom of expression in terms of saying certain things. But what's your view on some of the utterances that they've uttered? I mean, I've mentioned President Zuma just last week, obviously President Mbeki, and also President Mzwandile at some point.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of something called as hindsight syndrome?
Okay.
The hindsight syndrome. Yeah. Normally, former leaders, they've got this natural instinct of looking back.
After this question, link to
and make an assessment and evaluation of their own term. And obviously, when they do that, because during their term, most of the time they would speak about the good that they have done in their office. So when they are out of the office, there's what is called the hindsight syndrome, where they look back. And without the crowd having to make an assessment of their term of office, their mind gets dominated by weaknesses of what took place during their term in office. And then most of them, what they would normally do is to embark on a self-redemption process to try and recover from those weaknesses in the past. I don't want to characterize this tendency as one of those. But what I want to say is that the more they do this, they force South Africans to think that they are on a self-redemption and self-preservation motive. The more they do it, they force South Africans to think that. So these people, they just on a move to self-preserve and to self-redeem because of the weaknesses in office when they were the incumbent. But what I would advise, they get invited to the National Executive Committee meetings, the issues which they are raising.
Yeah, I think you've put it. I think you've put it for all to hear and see what exactly you are saying.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it any further.
Yeah.
I know had I had more time, we're going to engage further. But thank you very much for the time and for sharing your views on a number of issues.
No, thank you very much.
Well, that was the Premier of the Northern Cape, Zamani Saul, and the Chairperson of the ANC having a conversation with us here as the SABC. Let's go to the break.